previous episode, we began our interview with Jean Moulter, an English and speech teacher at River Falls since 1995. In this final episode of our four-part series, we continued our discussion with Mrs. Moulter, who described the transition from the old high school to the present one. To start, we asked what she remembered from the first week in the new building.
Well, all right, first of all, that was 9/11. And what happened, we were scheduled to open in the normal school year, but the building, wasn't quite ready. So it ended up getting pushed back. And it was our first week of school. But all of a sudden, I still remember Mr. Ferrier, who was the assistant principal at that time, coming into my room, and one of my students coming into the room telling us that, the Twin Towers, a plane had flown into the Twin Towers. And of course, immediately you turned it on TV. So when I think about the beginning of the school year, I don't even think about how that all went down, because everyone's focus was on what had happened in New York and with the Twin Towers. It was, I think it's something that I'll always remember when school started, and you'll always know how old the building is. There were minor things that, like with any building, there were issues. Maybe there was some water that didn't work, or, we had some flooding issues that occurred early on. And still with the heat, it's climate controlled, but we don't. So there's always those little bugs that have to be worked out. So, those were types of things that happened. But as far as the students, did it affect the students? I don't think they ever noticed that there were any issues with the building at all, which is good. So nothing earth-shattering, except just remembering that was the 9/11.
Next, we asked what challenges the new building presented.
Well, there's the moving and making sure that what you had in the old building, you grew to love certain things that you had in the old building. And of course, some of those things could not come over to the new building with you. So you had to adjust to, new equipment, a new room arrangement, those types of things. But nothing that really was, at least in our area, in the English wing, there really wasn't much that could go wrong, because we didn't have, like science could have had issues that I wouldn't have known about with their labs and with their little showers in there that still, I think, leak to this day. But nothing that really was inconvenient or challenging. Now, I know that there were things that were built into the new building that now you don't see. Where the pods are, there used to be study carrels in there, and I don't know if they were there when you were here, and we might have taken them out by then. But there were study carrels in the pod areas, so that kids could go out there and take tests, or they were going to be used for computers and technology type things. Well, they became more of a nuisance than anything else, and so we asked finally if they could be taken down to have more of an open area. And I think it's been used better because of that, rather than just those carrels that kept breaking down all the time.
We then asked why the teacher's input was so important in the design of the school.
Well, it's a good thing they did. Yeah. I think the more input that you could get from staff, primarily, let's see, at this point I could say, well, they wanted our input. Not all of our input was taken into consideration, but when you are dealing with so many teachers, and you're dealing with the community, and you're dealing with, this pot of money, you have to use what's going to be most efficient with it. And so you build a building, such as the one we're in right now. I couldn't read a blueprint to save my life, so I wasn't much help in that part of it, but I do know that they called each of us down by our department and said, all right, if you could have this in your room, or if you could have this in your wing, what would you want? And so we were able to kind of express our wishes, our wants.
Finally, we asked what she believed was missing most from the old building.
The building, in a way, the building has separated the staff, because the original design of the building was going to be sort of a, I don't want to call it the house concept like they have at the middle school, but in a way, you'll notice that we have the different wings. And at some point, I think they thought maybe it was going to be like a 9th grade wing, a 10th grade wing, and so on. Well, that, didn't happen. It didn't, flush out that way. But it's done more to separate, I think, the staff in the building, because as an English teacher, I may not see someone in the science department because, we're just so sectioned off. It's rare that I get down to the music department because, who goes down there? And that's one thing I think the old building, the middle school, has had. I think we were a more cohesive group because the building was kind of smaller and you saw everybody every day. And so I don't think this necessarily, it had wonderful, it has great things about it, but, those smaller little growing pain things that happen that I don't think people thought would happen. I don't think anybody thought in building the building that would be kind of an issue that would come out from that.
Right. Well, that was very helpful for our video. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Sure.
Enjoy your time.
Yeah. 13 more days. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.